created everything. Look what a powerful being you are. You did these things, but now you're in a human body, you forget the power you have.
What you do is what the whole universe is doing at the place you call here and now. You are something the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is something that the whole ocean is doing.
You're doing it.
Doing what?
Using your imagination.
Welcome to Metamystics, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Sean.
And welcome to the Wonder Wiz Day live show, baby. This is going to be a bit of a doozy.
As they all are.
As we try to make them all be. I mean, it's not even coming from an inflated ego of any kind of sort, but I feel like just about almost every episode, we're like expanding and expanding and expanding, and it's just, a mystery school in and of itself. And speaking of mystery schools, tonight we're diving into the, what was it called? The Invisible College.
All right, dude. All right, I'm ready, man.
Yeah, dude. So,
is that from Homeboy?
Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. All right. So me and Nick were talking a little bit earlier. Sean, I sent you the video.
I started to watch it. I got about halfway through, but I was like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
He's on something. Yeah.
Got some shit going.
So there was a video by Dr. Robert Gilbert from about a year or two ago. He went on to a podcast and dude, he was in the kitchen cooking like the entire time. I was like, how I aim to be somebody who can literally just talk for 2 straight hours and just give information after more information. Not even have, dude, didn't even have any notes in front of him or anything.
No fillers or no, you know what I mean? It was just straight up, just nonstop, dude.
Yeah, I idolize those kind of people. So yeah, we're going to be getting into the weird tonight. But look, before we do, because this show is going to be about Rosicrucianism, and it was inspired by Sir Dr. Robert Gilbert, amongst other studies that I had done in preparation to this show. But you know what? In the past few days, if you are a listener of the Cult of Conspiracy, you have heard me kind of deconstruct a few things, and a lot of people were not fans of that. You know, as they probably wouldn't be. I mean, I'm not, who am I to judge on anything? But the main reason why I wanted to do it was because I was like, man, a lot of these things seem to be like core principles of what the religion itself is built upon. And I was like, we got to really look at this in this way. And by the way, you know, I talked about the Nephilim. I talked about the Noah's Ark and the biblical flood and you know, how impossible all of that is, right? Not because I'm just like a non-believer of sorts. It's because, like, shouldn't we just look at these things as the myths that they are and stop saying, well, it happened, so it's true, therefore you're a Satan worshiper if you don't believe it. I don't like that. Right. I'm not a fan of that. If you want to sit here and talk about your myth, that's okay. That's cool, man. You know, and honestly, even if you believe it to be true and believe it to be real, you know, whenever you're going around proselytizing and you're condemning others for not believing what you believe in, that is, I've just become a little bit butthurt over that over the last couple of years. And it's always so simple. And this isn't just me complaining, but just kind of going on about, you know, what I've experienced. But it's always so simple for everybody else to attack everybody else's beliefs, but not mine, kind of thing. And I'm like, that's not fair. You know, like, we're all individuals. We're all experiencing things on a regular basis. And so what? Because I'm not a Christian, I can't have an Elohim experience? Tell me how that works, you know?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too, you know, has to do with just the culture, you know, like where this country has come from. I mean, it literally says like, in God we trust. And I think that a lot of the government officials, you know, coming up, they had to like actually state their like loyalty or their faith in the Lord and all of that before they could even get into office. You know what I'm saying? And so when there's a lot of intertwining of the religion and government and just the culture in general, I mean, that if you don't believe in that, then You know what I mean? You're just a heathen.
And that's the thing, is that I think that most of it is more culture and tradition, you know, under the guise of faith and belief, personally.
Right.
Again, nothing wrong with that. But Nick, what are your thoughts, sir?
I think a lot. I think it doesn't go without saying about a lot of myth, though, in my opinion, just from what I've been learning, is that I think a lot of it is based in a kind of collective cultural memory of sorts. Like, I think that there are caveats of truth to them that people did experience, like, but the literalness of it all. I think that's where we find the most truth is where are the common elements to the myth,
Mhm.
and like if you find the common denominators across all cultures, then you begin to understand what really happened, like in the sense of the flood. There was floods, there was things that did happen, whether it was localized or not, but also uniquely enough, almost every single culture has stories of higher beings, interacting with humanity in some way or another. So like it's like floods, higher beings interacting, god beings, and things like that. So for me, like no matter what the story actually is, it's like, well, there seems to be some consistency across the board in that regard, at least.
As far as like the spiritual nature and the unseen, if you will.
Yeah, and even physically seen sometimes too, because it's just I just think that those are the consistent things that are across all of those narratives, is that there's beings that interact with humanity, positive or negative, and that's the most consistent to me, to be honest, across every culture, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
I wonder what the symbolic nature is of a flood. You know, if the flood is something that has happened in a lot of cultures and a lot of narratives, and that seems to be the thing that connects all of them together. I wonder what the symbolic understanding of that would be, as far as there being a flood, getting rid of all life except for two, or you know what I'm saying? You know how the story goes, but it's like,
yeah.
I
what is
mean,
the
just
what is it that they're trying to portray? Because that story is just so ridiculous, but yet they found it necessary to keep it in there.
oh,
You know
dude,
what I
and
mean?
that's the thing, is that even in that flood show that I did the other day on the cult, you have certain other stories that mention the same exact thing. And that's
Mhm.
not necessarily to, take away from the myth or the story or the legend or whatever itself, but you have other stories that literally say the same exact thing, such as Atrahasis, that you always hear Billy Carson bring up, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was actually even
Mhm.
before that.
Yeah.
And almost every time it is understood that it is a spiritual cleansing.
Mhm.
Like, you have to flood it in order
Yep.
to be reborn. That's, in my opinion, that's the entire basis of a baptism in the first place.
Mhm.
It is a literal flooding of the consciousness to purge out all of the impurities and to make clean again. And
Right.
this is the same thing that, like, who was it that came on the show? The lady that could talk to her grandma or whatever through the Roku TV, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
I can't remember her name at the
Whenever
moment.
she came on, she said that her grandmother was given. Now, think whatever you want about that story. I think it's awesome. But whenever she was talking about that, she said that her grandmother, if she wanted to go to the other side, she had to go through like a wall of fire to get cleansed. And fire and water are always known as like cleansing rituals of sorts,
Yep. Mhm.
So anyway, look, I just wanted to throw it out there. And the reason why, I'm actually going to start this episode, kind of talking a little bit about that, because unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way through those couple of episodes. Now, I thought that I was doing, a pretty good service, helping people see it from different perspectives and whatnot. And man, oh boy, it got ugly. I mean, you should see some of the comments on Patreon. You should see some of the comments on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever people. I mean, I think there was even like a TikTok that was made out of it. Oh my God, I am getting drugged through the mud. And to be honest, I'm kind of here for the smoke. I like that kind of shit, but it doesn't look good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well, I mean, to mention something about that, as far as, like, this is where, where you're coming from, it's where you are right now. It's where you didn't grow up, just enamored with that information. And so you were almost kind of just experiencing shit. And that just wasn't part of your story growing up, And so it kind of gives you the ability to see things for more what they are, rather than, as you've said, more of the like nostalgia and the experience of growing up with that every Sunday, or, whatever it is, going to Sunday school, and it wasn't part of your experience. And so I don't understand why, all of the anger for you voicing your own opinion and your own experience and your understanding as of right now.
Because any kind of deconstruction that people don't necessarily have an answer for, they're always just going to get angry, and they're going to, try and kill the messenger kind of thing. And they think that I'm coming at it from hate and anger and like judgment and stuff like that. And maybe that's how my voice just portrays sometimes. I'm trying to work on it. But that wasn't at all what I was really trying to get to, which actually gets to the first part of this show. Since we are going to be getting into Rosicrucianism, first, let's understand that there are some rules to the occult in the first place. Okay. And it's like the old saying that whenever the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? The teacher doesn't go out and try and proselytize to the student. The student has to be ready. The student, and it's even said actually within Freemasonry. I don't know if it's this way amongst all the different secret societies or whatever, but they say that if you ever want to become part of the Freemasonic Brotherhood or whatever it is, right? Okay. You have to ask somebody who's in there 3 times. They're supposed to say no to you twice, and then they'll accept you on the 3rd try. And there's reason behind that. Because
it reminds me of Austin Powers. Who does number 2 work for? I'm not going to ever tell you. Who does number 2? And he tells him the 3rd time, and he's like, oh. He's like, oh, that was pretty easy. He's like, yeah, every time someone asks me something 3 times, I have to tell you. It's like,
he goes, damn, that's 3.
That's 3. Yeah.
That was a Will Ferrell one, I think, right?
Yep.
So, but it, and you'll see why that is common practice amongst secret societies, mystery schools, initiatory kind of events. And so we're going to get into it. So this is actually going to be a 2-part episode, a little bit on the occult, mainly on Rosicrucianism, because we've talked a little bit about secret societies and whatnot, but I feel like now is the right time that we start really dipping our feet in there.
Let's do it, man.
So the occult, why it is hidden. That's literally what occult means, is it's hidden, right? Yep. So the true meaning of the occult. The word occult often strikes fear into the hearts of the uninitiated. It conjures images of shadowy rituals, hidden covens, and forbidden knowledge. But in truth, the word simply means hidden. Hidden knowledge, hidden wisdom, hidden truths. The question then becomes, why hidden? The mainstream narrative says occultists hide their practices to control or exclude others. But perhaps the opposite is true. Perhaps occultists hide because history has shown that when they speak too openly, they are judged, ridiculed, or even killed. The occult then is not about secrecy for secrecy's sake. It's about protection. Protection of wisdom from those who would destroy it, and protection of seekers from truths that they are not yet ready to bear. So,
okay.
This is, and to be honest, it was kind of like a personal thing as to why I really wanted to set it up this way, because I realized with all of the shade that was kind of thrown my way whenever I did an episode on the Nephilim and the biblical flood, I was like, oh, it's just that they're not seeking that kind of information, you know? Yep. Because I'm over here like looking at it from an occultist point of view. What's the deeper meaning to that? What does it actually mean? And of course, anybody that is looking at it from the Gnostic view or looking at it from, a deeper meaning kind of occult-like view, you're going to say, my God, the literal way is literally the dumbest way to interpret it. Like, it is the most surface level, even a child can understand it. Like, clearly I don't know. That's kind of my way of looking at it. But who are we to judge on you know, people's their own path and, you know, where they're trying to get in their understanding and stuff. So, and to be honest, dude, after that, there's a couple of days after that, man, I was feeling kind of dark and gloomy. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, yeah, I feel like I proved my point, but you know, it wasn't a win by any means.
Though? You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And you know, it's funny because, you know, it's not like you're upset that nobody is believing in what you believe. It's not like you're going out there and telling them that they're going to some fiery place because they don't believe what you believe, you know? I think most of that negative feeling, it comes from them telling us that. You know, it's like, just because we don't believe what you believe, we're heathens, we're going to hell.
Yeah, and it's common practice to almost want to reciprocate that kind of feeling that we feel as a result of that. And that's not right either.
Right. But like I said, at least we're not telling people that they're not going somewhere bad because they don't believe or look at it the way we do, you know, so.
Right. So the White Boy Wizard said, "What up, you glorious bastards?"
What's up, dude?
White Boy Wiz. Nick posted up a meme that said, cognitive dissonance. Oh boy. Yeah. People don't like that term. Cognitive dissonance. This is why people get upset when their beliefs are challenged. A mental conflict occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. This conflict activates areas of the brain involved in personal identity and emotional response to threats. The brain's alarm goes off when a person feels threatened on a deeply personal and emotional level, causing them to shut down and disregard any rational evidence that contradicts that they previously regarded as truth.
Wow.
What a beautiful term.
Nailed it. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get over to it. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the occult now.
At least ready, dude.
At least some of the, you know, I don't want to say rules or laws or anything, but just like the niceties of what you should be doing, I guess. Okay. So first off, we need to understand that there is a misunderstanding of secrecy in the first place. So throughout history, mystical traditions have been forced underground, not out of arrogance, but survival. The witch hunts of Europe, the burning of Gnostics, the suppression of alchemists. These were all responses to the unfamiliar. Occultists weren't hiding from seekers. They were hiding from mobs with torches. The masses often believed that they were destroying evil, but in reality, they were silencing new ways of seeing the world. Secrecy, then, is not elitism. It is a natural response to misunderstanding. Just as you don't reveal your deepest vulnerabilities to someone who mocks you, occultists don't reveal their sacred practices to those who would trample on them.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what's so frustrating, because you want to just like shake some people and be like, this is what they meant. This is what they meant right here. Can't you just see it? And they're like, no, I'm cool with this nap. You know what I mean? Like I'm all right. Yeah. It's like the old adage is that you can't wake somebody up who's pretending to be asleep. You know?
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, so then of course there is fear and projection. So at the root of persecution is fear of the unknown, fear of losing control, fear of having one's worldview shattered. Occultists have often been scapegoats, easy targets for the protection of society's own inner shadows. Carl Jung would say that we refuse to confront within, or what we confuse to confront within ourselves, we demonize when we see it outside.
That's the mirror, dude.
Yes.
Yep.
That is why so many symbols of the occult, whether it be serpents or pentagrams or black robes, were all vilified. They became screens onto which society projects its shadow. But in truth, these symbols are simply languages of archetypes and forces within the psyche and the cosmos. So they're not good, they're not bad, they're just things.
It is what it is.
And it's the same thing of what we say even about tarot cards. There ain't nothing magical about tarot cards. There ain't nothing magical about a pendulum. There's nothing magical. Like once you kind of get to this point, you understand that like that thing is being charged up by you. You know, I mean, maybe you're
perceived by you, put through your lens and your understanding through the experiences that you've had. And you look back at that and go, oh, I see what this card is telling me. You know, I think you can pull up any card and get some information based off of what you're going through right now. or what, you know what I'm saying? Or what's to come.
Right. And I don't even want to say that it's just you, especially whenever we're doing this Rosicrucian episode, because their understanding of the angels and the demons and the gods and stuff like that, it will really reframe what we think about all of that. So much so that, like, these are interactionary kind of spirits that you know are always around, and it seems kind of crazy, you know, but I will say, you know, those couple of times that we've had Lord Byron on and a couple of like of his occultist buddies, whenever, especially whenever Lord Byron
His
came
meditation.
on, and he did the meditation with Gabriel and Uriel and Michael and all them, right?
Yeah.
It's like there was something going on there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
definitely.
like, and I didn't even have any preconceived notions about which, you know, angel did what.
Right.
It was more of like, man, that was strange that like it just lined up that way with what they do or whatever. But yeah, pretty wild. So this is definitely.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, dude. I think I need somewhat of a perception shift when it comes to this, you know, because I think for whatever reason, man, anytime like a god, like gods or, you know, things of that nature are brought up, I'm just like, not like rolling my eyes, you know, but like just the feeling of like, oh, okay, there's something that is much more powerful than we are, and it's gonna tell me what I can and cannot do, and like, I don't know, it just gives me like this weird, I don't know what it is, dude. Maybe I've been talking to the demons too long. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, from my understanding is that think about like a tree. Like a tree, are you more powerful than a tree, or is a tree more powerful than you? It's almost like a moot point. Like you can't even say which one is more powerful. It's that one does tree things and one does human things. And I think that angels and demons and gods, and if you're to look at them in that sense, that's just what they do, and this is just what we do.
Yeah.
You know, and so anyway, let's get over to it.
All right.
So now we have, this is something that's very important, and because we don't. If we're really trying to fully understand the deeper mystical meaning of everything, and then once we figure it out, we just want to go scream it from the top of the mountaintops. You know, it's like, I learned from experience that's a terrible idea. So, you know.
And one thing too that we've been learning is, you know, the entire journey itself is for the individual. At least this is how I look at it, because based off of my perception is the reality that I see, and my curiosities all of a sudden will bring new information, or even more weird, I'll have a curiosity and then the show that you're presenting is like really lining up with where I was, you know, and it's like there's definitely something to it. But yeah, dude, take us there, man.
So we need to get to the role of silence, the role that silence plays. So the mystic walks a path of silence, not because they are ashamed, but because they understand that truth cannot be forced. To proselytize is to impose, and mysticism does not impose, it invites. Silence is a spiritual discipline. It keeps the sacred sacred. It ensures that words are spoken only when they fall on fertile soil. The Bible itself echoes this whenever it says, oh, this is a good one, dude, especially for this. I fed you with milk, not solid food, for you were not ready for it. So truth is given in stages. Mystics don't throw pearls before swine, not because they despise others, but because they know wisdom must be digested slowly, step by step. So essentially to say that, like, look, we're not going to give you steak and chicken and, you know, these hard to chew on things whenever you're kind of just, you know, for a lack of a better term, a baby. Whenever it comes to the spiritual kind of stuff, you're just going to gum that shit right up. You're not going to be able to chew it up, right? And so, yeah, here's a little bit of milk, here's a little bit of honey, you know, and everybody has to start that way. And to be honest, if you're not always that way, I mean, it could really lead you down the wrong path, I think. And what I really loved about Dr. Robert Gilbert in that episode, y'all should definitely go check him out. But what I really loved about that episode was that, you know, I don't like whenever people call themselves shamans and gurus and all this other kind of stuff, because the person that is involved in mysticism and spirituality is always learning. So whenever you call yourself a shaman, you call yourself a guru, that's like painting.
You made it.
It's like you already got it all figured out. And the mystic themselves, is always on a journey to try and really understand everything from a deeper level. So
Yeah.
I like that he said that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, because even when you get to the 10th step, you know, in the journey, it just reduces down to one, and it's a beginning to the next phase, you know, gathering everything that you've learned and going forward and kind of looking through that lens and learning more. So yeah.
100%, dude. Yeah, it's a constant learning journey. So yeah, it's good to kind of keep silent about it unless you're asked, kind of thing. And to be honest, I kind of learned that, you know, even even being a conspiracy theorist for these past couple of years, you know, with the show and everything, like anytime I would go anywhere, somebody would always say, all right, look, you know, just be yourself, but not all the way. Like, keep that conspiracy shit to yourself, because I don't know what they think. I don't know what they feel. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. And I'd be like, of course, I'm not going to say it. But if somebody mentions flat earth, I know that the floodgates are open. You know what I'm saying? It was like,
open that portal now.
like, oh baby, let's go, you know? So yeah, anyhow, so, all right, this brings us to the initiation and asking 3 times. So consider the Freemasons. To join, you must ask not once, but 3 times. This tradition ensures that your desire is real, not just idle curiosity. Many ancient mystery schools operated the same way. You had to prove sincerity, patience, and humility before being admitted. This process is not gatekeeping, it's safeguarding. It is like placing guardrails on a mountain path. The climb is treacherous, but those who truly wish to ascend will make the effort. And dude, you want to talk about certain like initiatory practices? Like, that's where like a lot of the Greek like college houses and stuff like that. There's always some kind of initiation or whatever, and a lot of people like to refer back to the secret society called Skull and Bones in Yale. That's where George Bush and John Kerry and many others that like went and they attended the secret society. Well. And that's just to name one of them. There's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different secret societies all throughout time, you know? But there was one, it was the Pythagoras had a numbers cult, right? And I don't even like calling it a numbers cult, because I feel like that's dwindling it down way too much. Like, that's almost like, you know, saying Tesla was just talking about radio frequencies. It's like, that's not all, you know?
It was more than, okay.
And maybe we'll do a Pythagoras episode one of these days, but in order to even get initiated into the Pythagoras cult, you had to take a vow of silence for 7 years. You couldn't say a word for 7 years, and then you could be initiated.
Wow. That's actually very fascinating. I mean, I'm not saying anybody should do that, but I'm saying just imagine the messages or the understandings you would come to before you even got in. Just not saying shit for 7 years.
Dude, that's devotion is what that is. That's like, that is a thirst for knowledge. That's like, that's like Odin plucking out his eye so that he can, you know, go get the runes, you know?
Yeah, just imagine the absorption you would get from not focusing your energy on spitting shit out of your mouth and just listening and just observing. You know what I mean? Like,
it literally forces you to think about everything.
right. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
What choice do you have? You know, you have to just contemplate at that point.
You're literally just always on the inner world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No
like,
shit.
that's the only place where your words are ever said.
Right.
Which is pretty deep, actually. But
it is.
So nextly, we're going to go to living without judgment. And by the way, we always say we are not the teachers. We are humble students like the rest of y'all. We're always learning all this kind of stuff. So, you know, I definitely fucked up, and I don't want to say I fucked up. It was a valuable lesson. But living without judgment. So occult wisdom teaches one to observe without judgment. Mystics don't waste energy condemning others' beliefs. They recognize that each soul is on a journey, each at its own stage of awakening. A Christian, a Buddhist, an atheist, they're all walking paths that may one day converge at some truth or at the same truth. This is why occultists often remain silent, not because they are hiding, but because they are respecting. They respect the timing of each person's awakening. That's pretty solid.
Interesting. Yeah. That makes podcasting somewhat difficult, you know?
I know.
It's like when you start to understand those things, it's like, you know, there was this one podcast that I used to listen to, and this one dude was like super spiritual, man. Like, he had some shit figured out, and it really helped me through a hard time before I really got into a lot of this. And all of a sudden that podcast just went away, and it was like, oh, You know what I mean? Like he got to a different level almost, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it
yeah.
makes sense, you know, if you are to, you know, in the way of the mystic, you know, kind of just observing and listening and just kind of being present, you know, and then you got to have an opinion about everything all of a sudden, you know? I mean,
I
I
know.
don't
Yeah, biting my tongue is not ever something that I've ever been good at.
know. Right.
Thus why I talk for a living, but it's like, you know, I got to start being a little bit better at that and just respecting others' beliefs. If somebody asks me, I'll say it, but you know, I'm not going to insert it whenever it's not wanted. So that was
Right.
kind of a lesson I learned there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So why the occult still matters. The occult is relevant today because humanity is still learning how to seek truth inwardly rather than outwardly. The occult reminds us that wisdom is not always written on billboards. It's hidden, waiting to be discovered. And those who seek with sincerity will always find. In this way, the occult is not about exclusion. It's about readiness. As Jesus said, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened.
I love it.
Dude, you can't tell me Jesus wasn't some kind of like initiated, ascended one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, he was speaking his mind and speaking his truth, you know? So,
I mean, and to be honest, I don't even care if he was real or not. Just like I don't care if most of these people are real or not. What does
Right.
the story say? You know, and what can you
Exactly.
garner from it? So, all right. So let us reframe the occult not as a dark, secretive club, but a sacred garden, a place where truths grow quietly until the seeker is ready to enter. The occult is hidden not to keep you out, but to ensure that you walk through the gate with reverence, not mockery. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get over to the Rosicrucians, but I kind of just wanted to mention that first. And there's a reason why all these secret societies, if you ever look at them, they don't even got windows on the buildings, bro.
Not
like-
out in the open, dude.
Yeah, they're just like, look, you know, we know what the judgment is going to be if we talk about these things or teach about these things openly. Somebody's going to be coming with pitchforks and flames, and they're going to literally think that we are communicating with El Shaitan himself.
Of course.
You
He's
know?
he's the go-to, you know?
Yeah. Everything's demonic. Sorry. So now we're going to go to, let's learn a little bit about the Rosicrucians themselves. There's actually a really good website, and you can find it actually at rosicrucian.org of what I found. But before we do get into that, I do want to say, look, we do these live shows every Wednesday night, and they are only found on Patreon. So if you want to be able to join on these Wednesday live shows, we call them Wonder Wednesday, then just go over to patreon.com/metamystics. That link is down in the show notes below. It's the best way to be able to support us. It's completely commercial free. You'll be able to watch every single video completely ad uninterrupted, and you'll be able to comment and, like all the videos and everything. And it's really cool. It's like a big community that we build. We call them the One. So if you want to become part of the One, fully entrenched into your oneness with everything, that's the best place to go and do it. We have several different tiers over there, of course. So if you sign up for the Wonder Wednesday tier, it'll be $8.88 a month. So you'll get access to every single show days in advance, completely commercial free. You'll be able to slide into our DMs and all that fun jazz. And then if you want all inclusive, then Wonder Wednesday tier is the place to go if you want to be able to join us every Wednesday night. So just want to throw that out there to anybody that is curious. And so this is where we start.
All right, man.
Rosicrucian.org. I decided, why not just hear it from the horse's mouth? You know?
All right.
So this is actually called they're called the AMORC, and that stands for the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rosicrucians, or the Rosy Cross. So the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross. Okay.
Okay. All right.
That's what AMORC stands for. And it's interesting because you would see that cross and you'd be like, oh, is this like a Christian mysticism kind of thing? And that's, to be honest, that's kind of what I always thought it was.
Yeah.
And because you see the cross on there and, it almost looks kind of Ankh-like up here too. And you're like, what's going on with this symbol? But So the ancient mystical order Rosicrucians is the Latin form of the organization's name, which literally translates to the ancient mystical order of the Rose Cross. There is no religious connotation associated with this symbol. The Rose Cross symbol predates Christianity, according to them. Even though it wasn't really, talked about and out in the open until I think the 1600s over in England or somewhere over there. Yeah. So, if it's a secret society, I can understand why. So the cross listen to this. So the cross symbolically represents the human body, and the rose represents the individual's unfolding consciousness.
Holy fuck, dude. This is exactly what I was just talking about. The individual journey, dude.
Yes.
How things start to just open up when you start like paying attention to it.
I mean, look, we all got that bud inside of us, Gotta let that baby unfold. It says, together, the rose and cross represent the experiences and challenges of a thoughtful life well lived. Thus, by our name and symbol, we represent the ancient fraternity of Rosicrucians, perpetuating the true traditions of Rosicrucian movements from centuries past to the present day. So the history of the Rosicrucian order, AMORC, may be divided into two general classifications, traditional and chronological. The traditional history consists of mystical allegories and fascinating legends that have been passed down for centuries by word of mouth. The Rosicrucian order chronological accounts are based on the specific dates and verifiable facts. So then it gets into the roots into the ancient world, which is pretty fascinating because they're going all the way back to the pyramids of Giza.
Right. Oh shit. Okay.
So, at least according to this this brotherhood here, and I think whenever they say brotherhood, it's just like a, fraternity, sorority. It doesn't. I don't think it necessarily means all dudes, because I believe that like one of the lead people in charge is a woman. So it's like it doesn't have to be a all boys club. So the Rosicrucian movement, of which the Rosicrucian order, AMORC, is the most prominent modern representative, has its roots in the mystery traditions, philosophy, and myths of ancient Egypt, dating back to approximately 1500 BC in antiquity, or 1500 BC. And then in antiquity, the word mystery referred to a special gnosis, a secret wisdom. Thousands of years ago in ancient Egypt, select bodies or schools were formed to explore the mysteries of life and learn the secrets of this hidden wisdom. Only sincere students displaying a desire for knowledge and meeting certain tests were considered worthy of being inducted into these mysteries. Over the course of these centuries, these mystery schools added an initiatory dimension to the knowledge that they transmitted. It is further traditionally related that the order's first member students met in secluded chambers in magnificent old temples where, as candidates, they were initiated into the great mysteries.
And see, I think
cool.
that there's something to that, almost on a placebo level. I've heard people say that after they were baptized, it was like they felt some sort of supernatural ability, almost. Almost like they can see through people, or they could see things that they weren't able to see before. And so I wonder if just the whole process of being able to be eligible, to be initiated, and then crossing that line is almost like at a placebo level, giving you some sort of almost acceptance or permission from yourself, to be able to open up and see more.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's definitely some of that going on, like without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, people have pareidolia all the time, and it doesn't take away from whatever experience they're having internally, Some people will see faces on the moon or rock formations on the moon or whatever, and they're like, aliens put that there. And so in their mind, literally, it's crystallizing the thought that aliens actually put it there. Doesn't necessarily mean that aliens did. It's just that, like, if they did, this is the feeling that you're, like, manifesting,
Right, and just opens up that experience for yourself to the possibility of that.
Yes. So to go on, it says their mystical studies then assumed a more closed character and were held exclusively in temples which had been built for that purpose. Rosicrucian traditions relates that the Great Pyramids of Giza were most sacred in the eyes of the initiates. Contrary to what historians affirm, our tradition relates that the Giza pyramids were not built to be tombs of pharaohs, but were actually places of study and mystical initiation.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
it's
of
interesting
course.
too, just the shape. If you look at those structures, it's almost like, obviously at the bottom, the base, it's wider, and it gets more narrow as it goes up. So it's almost like when I look at that in these terms, I feel like it would be almost like your attention or your ability, being focused into one point upwardly. I don't know.
Yes, yes. No, I think you're absolutely right because it's almost like if you're to look at it from like a Neoplatonic idea that maybe at
Mhm.
the top of that pyramid stands the one.
Right. Yeah, and then get into the sacred geometry aspect of that. How they say like, oh, most buildings and houses are all rectangular and square, and how that kind of keeps you stuck, kind of keeps you stagnant. And then you look at the pyramid, and it's so different.
Oh, dude,
On purpose.
100%. They actually say that, within sacred geometry, there's these things called angles of sorrow, which are otherwise known as 90-degree angles.
Right.
So
Hmm.
it's like that 90-degree angle will make you feel boxed in. And if you feel boxed in, it is human nature to want to express like, freedom and like free will and stuff like that. And so just at a subconscious level, yeah,
Hmm.
I believe exactly what you're saying is like, yeah, these are, like if you ever seen that show called Weeds,
Oh, I'm aware of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I
like
haven't watched it.
the theme song to it is little boxes on the hillside, little
Hmm.
boxes filled. And I'm not going to sing the whole thing, but it's like, yeah, they are like little boxes of what we live in, which, not going to lie.
Hmm.
That's why I always love the A-frame houses because those things are fucking sweet.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, dude.
so, so the mystery or the Giza pyramids were places of study and mystical initiation. The mystery schools over centuries of time gradually evolved into great centers of learning, attracting students from throughout the known world. Pharaoh Thutmose, if I'm saying that correctly, the third, who ruled Egypt from 1500 to 1447 BC, organized the first esoteric school of initiates founded upon principles and methods similar to those that are perpetrated by the Rosicrucian order today, AMORC. Decades later, Pharaoh Amenhotep IV was initiated into the secret school. This most enlightened pharaoh, history's first monotheist, was so inspired by the mystery teachings that he gave a completely new direction to Egypt's religion and philosophy. He established a religion which recognized the Aton, the solar disk, as being the symbol of the sole deity, the foundation of life itself, the symbol of light, truth, and joy, and changed his name to Akhenaten to reflect these new ideas. And although the earlier religion was later reestablished, the mystical idea was put forth in human consciousness and its flame never died. Centuries later, Greek philosophers such as Thales and Pythagoras the Roman philosopher Plotinus, shout out to Plotinus, and others journeyed to Egypt and were initiated into the mystery schools. That's pretty badass. It says they then brought their advanced learning and wisdom to the Western world. Their experiences are the first records of what eventually grew and blossomed into the Rosicrucian order. The name of the order, as it is now known, was to come much later. However, the Rosicrucian order always perpetuated its heritage of ancient symbolism and principles. So, pretty freaking sweet, dude. And then it gets into like a couple of the things that, their early beginnings. And I guess we can read that a little bit.
Sure.
So it says the early European beginnings for Rosicrucians. So it was in the time of Charlemagne from 742 to 814 that the French philosopher Arnaud introduced the mystical teachings into France, and from there they spread to much of Western Europe. Throughout medieval Europe, mystical knowledge was often necessarily couched in symbolism or disguised and hidden in the love songs of the troubadours, the formularies of alchemists, the symbolic system known as the Kabbalah, and the rituals of orders of knighthood. So while much of medieval Europe lay in darkness, the highly advanced Arab civilization preserved a large body of the mystical teachings through texts translated directly from the great libraries of the ancient world, such as Egypt's Alexandria Library.
Of course. Yeah, man.
So it says philosophy, medicine, mathematics, and alchemy were all important subjects preserved in these libraries and later transmitted to Europe by way of the Arabs. Alchemy, the art of transmutation, came into prominence with the Alexandrian Greeks. It was then introduced to the Arabs, who then transmitted this art and forerunner of chemistry to Europe. The alchemists played a tremendous part in the early history of the Rosicrucian order. While many alchemists were interested in making gold, some were more concerned with the transmutation of human character. Yes. European alchemists and the Knights Templar, Jacob will never admit this, but anyway, the Knights Templar, in contact with the Arab civilization at the time of the Crusades, brought much of this wisdom to the West. In Europe, the transcendental alchemists, mystics, and philosophers sought to transmute the base elements of human character into the more noble virtues and to release the wisdom of the divine self within the individual. Hell yeah, dude. This is why this shit resonates, because it's literally been going on for the past 2,000 years at least.
Yeah, and the thing that I think about is that, you know, almost like the necessity of a school of this sort, like nowadays, you know, because back then I can understand, you know, if you were to speak of some of this information, you know, you could be killed or what have you. But I feel like nowadays, I don't know how necessary it would be to actually join some group to gather this information, especially when all of the information initially was gathered by somebody, you know, and that person is no better, no more powerful than you are.
Oh, dude,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's the thing, is that especially now in today's age, you're seeing less and less people sign up for secret societies, whether it be Freemasons or the OTO or whatever, because you don't need to become initiated to search something on the internet anymore.
Right.
You know,
I mean, we're in this age of information. Information is everywhere of all sorts, you know, good information, bad information. But if you're allowing all of the information to go through the filter that is you and through the experiences that you have, then I don't see why some higher authority needs to show me the way. You know what I'm saying? Especially if the information that I'm coming across is the exact information that I'm ready for in this moment.
100%. Yes. And that's actually perfect, because it goes right into, as the old saying goes, the truth shall make you free. Consequently, those who sought truth and attempted to expound it to their fellow humans became objects of persecution by tyrannical rulers or narrow religious systems. For several centuries, due to the lack of freedom of thought, the order had to conceal itself under various names. However, in all times and places, the order never ceased its activities, perpetuating its ideals and its teachings, participating directly or indirectly in the advancements of the arts, sciences, and civilization in general, and always emphasizing the equality of men and women and the true solidarity of all humanity. So they literally, they had to go underground. There probably still, a lot of them are still very underground, but the idea was to try and escape persecution, escape judgment. And you know, it's like, they look at these people as if they're the evil ones because they're in a secret society, but it's like, you know, if you,
out of necessity,
if you back a dog into a corner, you can't then say, oh, well, that dog's in a corner, you got to watch out. It's like, you're the one that put him there.
Yeah. No one puts baby in the corner, man.
Nobody does. Nobody does. Somebody put baby in the Rosicrucian baby in the corner, though.
Yeah, they sure did.
So, as the Renaissance burst upon Europe with a flash of new interest in the arts and sciences, a mysterious publication printed, and we're going to get a little bit more into this, in the 17th century Germany and called the Fama Fraternitatis. It heralded a renewed interest in Rosicrucianism throughout Europe. The Fama introduces Christian Rosicrucians, who we're going to talk about a little bit, a mythical character who is said to have traveled to the centers of learning in the Near East and who personified the revived interest in esoteric studies and mystical learning. So, as part of this great renewal, the renowned Sir Francis Bacon, the English philosopher, essayist, and statesman, directed the Rosicrucian order and its activities in both in England and on the continent, which is pretty cool. Sir Francis. So there's like a bunch of history to it. I don't want to read it all off of this one website, but I mean, what do you think about it so far? It's pretty damn cool that like people have been trying to attain certain knowledge for the longest time and trying to escape persecution for as long as they've been trying to, you know, chase after knowledge.
Yeah, no, it's very fascinating, and already I'm having somewhat of a perception shift, as far as the ability to obtain information. It's like I don't I don't firmly believe, that you would need to go to some secret society to even get this information nowadays. But then again, as I say that, there's some Freemasons listening going, "You have no idea what you're talking about." You know what I mean? Like, you guys are way off,
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, there's always, and I'm happy. I'm happy that
Yeah.
there's so much more to learn. I'm happy that there's
yeah.
so much to learn that literally we could read about this stuff every day for the rest of our lives and still probably not even touch a
More than
percentage.
likely not know it. Yeah, for sure, dude. And it gives you something to look forward to.
Hell yeah, dude. So now we're going to, oh wait, there's one more article that I did want to read, actually. It was the seven core beliefs of mystical Rosicrucians explained. So this is
Okay.
by realitypathing.com. It says, the Rosicrucian movement, which emerged in Europe in the early 17th century, has long captivated the minds and hearts of those seeking deeper spiritual insight. Characterized by a rich blend of mysticism, philosophy, and esoteric knowledge, the beliefs of the Rosicrucians have inspired countless individuals across generations. The core tenets of this mystical tradition not only resonate with its historical context, but also offer profound insights into personal and spiritual development. This article delves into the 7 core beliefs that defined mystical Rosicrucianism. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready, dude. Give it to me.
All right, number 1 is the pursuit of knowledge.
Of course.
At the top of the board.
Of course it is. Yeah.
At the heart of Rosicrucian teachings lies an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Mystical Rosicrucians believe that understanding the universe and our place within it is paramount to spiritual growth. This quest for knowledge is not limited to academic or scientific pursuits. Rather, it encompasses all forms of wisdom, spiritual, moral, and philosophical. Rosicrucians advocate for a holistic understanding of existence, where knowledge serves as a bridge connecting the material and spiritual realms. The belief is that through study, whether it be through sacred texts, natural observation, or experiential learning, individuals can come to understand the divine truths that govern life. This pursuit often aligns with a broader mission to elevate humanity's collective consciousness and to contribute to the betterment of society.
That's great.
So these people who wanted to elevate humanity's collective consciousness had to go into hiding.
Into the corner.
It's crazy. It's ass backwards.
Can't be having that, man.
At number 2 on the list is universal brotherhood. A foundational principle in Rosicrucian thought is the concept of universal brotherhood. This belief emphasizes the interconnectedness of all people and promotes unity beyond cultural, racial, and religious differences. Mystical Rosicrucians assert that every individual possesses inherent value and shares a common divine essence. That's that namaste, baby, right there.
It's everybody, not just the boys, all right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get it twisted.
Right. And that's the thing. That's just how they used to talk back then. It's like
Yeah.
people, people would always say, well, this is for man. It's like man,
Humans, right?
because man and woman, you both have man inside of it. So it's like a brotherhood is not necessarily meant to be seen as like a boys thing. But
Right.
anyway, so this perspective encourages practitioners to cultivate compassion and empathy towards others. It also fosters an environment where collaborative efforts for humanitarian causes flourish. The idea is that by recognizing our shared humanity, we can work together to create a more harmonious world. In this way, universal brotherhood is not just a lofty ideal, but a guiding principle influencing actions towards social justice and collective well-being. So there you have the universal brotherhood. Sticking up for everybody, even the little guy.
Right.
I
Yeah. And
like it.
instead of highlighting the things that everyone disagrees on, let's just highlight the similarities that we share as human beings.
Yeah, they're very anti-division for sure.
Yeah.
Then you have, this is a good one, the transcendence of materialism. This is a big one, dude.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
mystical Rosicrucians hold that true fulfillment comes from transcending materialism. While acknowledging the necessity of basic physical needs, they assert that an overemphasis on material possessions leads to spiritual emptiness. Dude, tell me you haven't met
Spiritual
a lot of
emptiness.
Tell me you haven't met a lot of people who are just they only care about materialism and showing off their things and showing off their money. Look at this new car I got. Look at this new pool I got. Like, you know what I mean? It's always like, it's like weird. A contest of materialistic ideas. And this is basically saying, look, you came in with nothing. You're going out with nothing. You can't bring anything whenever you go. It's like, you know, it's weird. It's like, you know, it's cool to have like a Pokemon card collection, but you ain't taking that either. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure, dude. That's definitely something that you experience, you know, on this journey.
Yes.
You know?
So it says, instead, they encourage individuals to focus on cultivating inner wealth, qualities such as wisdom, love, and understanding. This belief is echoed in many mystical traditions where detachment from material concerns is seen as essential for spiritual enlightenment. By prioritizing spiritual pursuits over material gains, practitioners can align themselves more closely with the higher selves and divine purpose. This shift in focus allows one to experience a deeper connection to the universe and a greater sense of peace.
I'm telling you that you know when you buy a new car, right? And it's exciting, right? You get this car that maybe you've been wanting it for years, you know, and you finally get it. That excitement, like you've said even before in the past, that excitement goes away really quickly. But if you've ever experienced this, and I'm not even saying that I experience it very often. I mean, I've probably experienced it a few times, at least to this level, where you're out and about and you see strangers and you just have this like urge of like extra compassion and almost understanding, even though you don't know that person. You know, it's just this uplifting kind of peaceful feeling, and I don't know, nothing compares to that, you know, just in a general sense of just being out, not necessarily with a goal in mind, even.
Yeah, it's just compassion for everybody that's on their own path and remembering that, you know, we didn't start out where we are. We started out where everybody else starts out at, which is coming right out the womb, you know?
Yeah.
So nextly, we go to the inner mystery. So Rosicrucianism places significant importance on the concept of the inner mystery, which refers to an individual's quest for self-discovery and understanding their own spiritual nature. Mystical Rosicrucians believe that each person carries within them latent potential waiting to be awakened through introspection and personal revelation. The journey inward is often characterized by meditation, contemplation, and various esoteric practices designed to unveil deeper truths about oneself and existence itself. Dude, if that's not what we're trying to always talk about, dude. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I love it.
I mean, because you can be in the illusion, you know, that you aren't capable or you aren't worthy or, you know, name your thing, man. But once you start doing something and then you continuously just do that thing and then it builds and becomes something that you never thought was possible, you know, that's that tapped potential that was always there. It wasn't something that was just given to you. It was there. You just had to allow it to express itself.
Exactly, dude. Yeah, you're definitely on it right there. We all have all that in us. Like, I mean, there's a funny, like, I think it was like a progressive commercial or something like that. And it's Peyton Manning. He's talking up on a stage and he's like giving a, you know, like a good talk, like a pep talk to everybody. Right. And he goes, I'm not just Peyton Manning, I'm motivating Manning. And it's just, I love those fucking commercials. They're so funny. But, Peyton Manning, he's up there and one person's like, I want to be this. And he goes, you can do it. Another person's like, I want to be that. You can do it. And the other guy goes, it's like this scrawny little 5'8" dude, right?
Yeah.
Like has no like sporting bones in his entire body. And he goes, whenever I grow up, I want to be a quarterback. And Peyton's like, well, I mean, that's kind of a niche market, but you know what? I believe in you. He's just keep on going. And the guy's like, I got it. Just act like he's going to throw it. It's hilarious. But
that's great.
Basically to say that like everybody has that one thing. And, you know, I mean, if it's physical, like obviously I'm not going to be able to dunk a basketball. I can't do that. That's not something maybe I could learn, but you know, a lot of that is physical and the idea is to get out of the physical.
Right.
This is more personal revelation and introspection and awakening from within. So anyway,
absolutely.
So engaging with this journey, engaging with this inner mystery enables practitioners to connect with their higher self, a divine aspect that guides them toward fulfilling their life purpose. Additionally, this belief underscores the idea that everyone has unique gifts and contributions to make to the world. By exploring one's inner landscape, individuals can uncover their true calling and embrace their role in the greater cosmic drama.
That's great.
Dude. Nextly, and a lot of this is, I'm not going to lie, dude, if you really look into Rosicrucianism, a lot of it is based on Hermeticism. So a lot of these things that we're going to be talking about today was echoed with all the different Hermetic, episodes that we've done.
That's why it's resonating so hard.
Yeah.
You know?
So nextly, you have the spiritual alchemy. The practice of spiritual alchemy is another cornerstone of mystical Rosicrucian beliefs. Much like traditional alchemy seeks to transform base metals into gold, spiritual alchemy aims to at transforming the individual's consciousness from ignorance to enlightenment. It's a good one.
Give me some of that.
Yeah. This transformative process involves several stages. So you have calcination, which is breaking down ego, dissolution, which is letting go of attachments, separation, which is recognizing your true self, conjunction, which is integrating insights, fermentation, which is spiritual rebirth, which is an interesting term for that.
Yeah, it is.
Distillation, which is purifying thoughts, and coagulation, which is manifesting one's higher self, is to coagulate.
Okay, that hemisync, if you will.
Yeah, dude, that left and that right, baby. So each stage represents a significant aspect of personal growth and inner transformation. Through spiritual alchemy, practitioners learn how to transmute negative experiences into opportunities for growth, fostering resilience and deeper understanding along their journey. This belief in transmutation underscores the potential within each individual to evolve spiritually through self-work and dedication.
That's
of course,
it, man.
nobody's going to do it for you, you know?
Nope.
So then we have two more of these, but then you have the laws of course, or the law of correspondences. So another critical belief held by mystical Rosicrucians is encapsulated in the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, as within, so without. This principle reflects their understanding of the law of correspondences, the idea that there are parallels between different planes of existence, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. That these are literally the different planes of existence.
All right.
So most people think that there's only one plane. It's the physical plane. Well, there's three more, baby.
Of course.
You know?
Yep.
So Rosicrucians teach that understanding these correspondences enhance our awareness of how our inner states affect our outer reality and vice versa. By recognizing these connections, practitioners can better navigate life's challenges while cultivating a sense of harmony between their inner world and external circumstances. This belief encourages mindfulness. Individuals are urged to reflect on how their thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions influence their lives. By consciously aligning one's inner state with desired outcomes through intention setting or visualization, Rosicrucians empower individuals to become active participants in shaping their own destinies.
Dude, that's some real shit right there, man.
Why do you get rid of these people? I mean, I can tell you why they get rid of these people. You know,
that might make people mad though. So
well, because it's going to free people up.
Yeah,
You can't control a free person. It's impossible.
Right.
So finally, the last one is the quest for spiritual enlightenment.
That's it.
So central
stuff.
That's the stuff right there. So central to mystical Rosicrucianism is the ultimate goal. Achieving spiritual enlightenment or illumination. This aspiration transcends mere intellectual understanding. It encompasses profound experiential insights into the nature of reality. Rosicrucians believe that enlightenment facilitates communion with divine consciousness, a realization that brings forth compassion, love, wisdom, and clarity. Achieving this state requires dedication to personal growth practices such as meditation, contemplation on sacred texts, rituals aimed at raising consciousness, engaging in ethical living aligned with universal principles, and nurturing authentic relationships with oneself and others. The commitment to lifelong learning in various dimensions, scientific inquiry combined with esoteric knowledge serves as a foundational pathway for attaining spiritual enlightenment. Through this ongoing quest for understanding both oneself and the cosmos at large while fostering unity among humanity lies the heart of mystical Rosicrucian practice.
Damn, dude. I feel like that's the journey we're already on, dude, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think so. I like to think so anyway. It's pretty badass. Yeah. There's some things DC said, would love to stay and learn more, but I got work at 5. Good night, everyone. All right, DC. See you, bud. White Boy Wizard said, I have you in me, baby girl.
Oh, snap.
It feels good, baby.
He's
all right.
always got some good ones, dude.
I know. So now we're going to get into the enigma of the Rosicrucians. Some of it is going to talk about what we've already talked about, but it's going to be a little bit more in depth now. So the Rosicrucians are one of the most mysterious orders in Western esotericism. Their sudden appearance in Europe during the 1600s with a series of anonymous manifestos sparked a frenzy of speculation. Were they a secret brotherhood guiding humanity from the shadows, a hoax designed to test who was ready for wisdom, or a symbol of a deeper truth that hidden sages have always existed, protecting knowledge until the world was prepared?
I think we're getting closer, man. I really do. I feel like there is somewhat of a shift happening, like on the conscious level, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to be when I grow up,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Which is funny because, you know, it's, whenever I was younger, I used to always people would always ask you like what you want to be when you grow up. And of course, everybody has their like kind of out of reach ideas as a kid or whatever. And then the older you get, that like what you want to be starts to transform and shift into something that's a little bit more attainable, I think. So I always wanted to play in the NFL. That was like my goal until I was like 30, you know, and I should have probably let it go whenever I was like 23, to be honest with you. But, but I just love playing. But anyway, but then it kind of shifted after a little while, and you know, people would ask like, well, what do you want to be? Like, what do you want to do? Because it took me a little while to get my life together. And to be honest, what is even your life together anyway? You know?
Right.
But yeah, before I kind of, you know, started podcasting and stuff, I used to just say like, dude, I just aspire to be that old man on the porch that somebody can go up to and just get all the wisdom that they could ever even hold in a cup.
Yeah,
you know,
just puffing on like a big peace pipe or something for no reason at all. You
Yeah.
know?
And I feel like that archetype has existed a lot in my life over the years, you know, whether it be our great grandfather or just your regular grandfather. I don't think it was your great, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And it just plenty of other people like that. I just always used to think, man, I hope that whenever I get old, people will just like sit in reverence to the stories that I'll tell one day. You know?
Yeah, and I think that that's just something that happens naturally, especially, you know, if you try to align with, I'm not necessarily saying, you know, the Rosicrucians or whatever, you know, but just being the best person you can be, you know, in your experience of life, you're going to have those stories. You're going to have the things that you failed at, or you know, you made a mistake, and so you can, you know, enlighten people of those things, and so to help them from maybe not making those mistakes. And so I think it's just a natural part of life. Eventually you will be that dude.
Yeah, just trying to instill wisdom for those who are seeking it, you know?
That's it, man.
That's like the coolest thing you can be in my eyes anyway. So now we get to, were they protecting knowledge until the world was prepared? So what makes the Rosicrucians so compelling is that they embody the essence of the occult itself. Knowledge hidden, not because it is selfish, but because the masses weren't ready. They weren't inventing something new. They were reviving Hermetic wisdom, alchemy, and Kabbalistic truths that had been circulating in hidden streams since antiquity. Their Christian language was often a mask to protect them from persecution in a Europe dominated by church and crown. So a lot of people will say that it's actually Christian mysticism. That's not entirely true. Yes, they probably, you know, were looking for a little bit of the Gnostic kind of deeper meanings to the Bible and whatnot, but it was kind of like a front. Like they had to do that. It kind of like a go along to get along kind of deal.
Right, a mask that needed to be worn for the time. You know, can you imagine being in a time like that, dude, where you really can't speak your opinions? You know, like,
well, they had already seen what had happened to the witches. You know,
right.
They were like, hey, we Christian too, you know? Like,
right. Right. Dude.
You're not going to say we're demonic. Hell with that. Right. and tie a millstone to my ankle and see if I drown. And if I don't, then I'm a witch. And it's like, if I do, then, well, you know?
What a terrible test. You know, that was just, anyway.
Yeah, dude. So now we get to the myth of Christian Rosencreutz. So, and I could be saying that wrong, but Rosencreutz. Yeah, I think that's right.
All right.
So, at the heart of the Rosicrucian legend is the mysterious figure of Christian Rosicrucians, which literally stands for Rosy Cross.
Right.
According to the Fama Fraternatus, Rosicrucians was born and that's the documentation that popped up over in Europe that was like, it wasn't necessarily authored by anybody, and nobody really know where it came from, and that was the.
Was it just the 3 initiates or something like that?
Well, so, I mean, that was the
Kabbalion.
Kabbalion, yeah.
Right.
But this is, I mean, very similar, you know.
Of course.
But this came out before the Kabbalion, because I think the Kabbalion came out in like late 1800s, early 1900s, something like that.
All right, but very related.
Very related. It's just another way of telling the same story.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, he was born in the 14th century. He traveled, according to the myth, traveled extensively to the East, Arabia, Egypt, and Morocco, and returned to Europe carrying profound wisdom. Upon his death, his tomb was hidden, only to be rediscovered over a century later, filled with alchemical texts, mystical symbols, and a perfectly preserved body. So this is the thing, is like, people aren't sure whether to take this story literal or not, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of like what we've grown to understand is like, it really doesn't matter if it happened or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, if your dad goes out fishing one day and says, I caught a bass that was this fucking big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to be able to prove if I was literal or fictional or whatever. You're just going to take him at his word, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So whether or not Rosencreutz was real is irrelevant, it says. He serves as an archetype, the wandering initiate who seeks truth across cultures, returns with illumination, and plants seeds for a hidden brotherhood to carry forward. His story echoes the archetypal hero's journey, similar to Hermes Trismegistus, Pythagoras, and even the Buddha. By placing Rosicrucians at the center, the Rosicrucians gave Europe a mythic figure of initiation, someone who embodied the secret path of transformation. The tomb itself is symbolic. The chamber filled with light represents the inner temple of the initiate's heart, where truth is preserved until rediscovered. In many ways, Christian Rosicrucians is less a man and more a map, guiding seekers into their own hidden chambers of wisdom. Shout out to Rosicrucians. And by the way, if you're just trying to use Christianity as like a cover, you're gonna name your top figure Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Oh man. So now we get to the manifestos, the books that were kind of circulating in that time.
Mm-hmm.
So between 1614 and 1617, 3 texts appeared in Germany: the Fama Fraternatus, the Confessio Fraternatus, and the Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosicrucians, which is awesome.
Okay.
We're going to dive a little deeper in these. But these manifestos proclaimed the existence of a secret brotherhood that sought to reform the whole world through wisdom, science, and spirituality. Europe at this time was in upheaval between the Reformation, the 30 Years' War, and the dawn of modern science. The manifestos promised something extraordinary: a new golden age led by the hidden sages who could unite religion, science, and philosophy. They want to bring them all together.
That's
right?
What needs to happen, man. You know?
Probably not going to happen in our lifetime.
Like we've said before, you know, whether you like the narrative or whether you know, whatever it is, it's like people that have their faith, and they're never going to let go of that. And so I don't think the way forward is to, you know, judge one way or the other. You know, it's like, how do we make this work where everybody can just coexist and quit judging others for not believing what you believe in? That's it. You know what I mean? Whether the narrative of your faith is literal or not, it's like it doesn't matter. To the individual, you are allowed to have your faith, and that's fine, and live the best way that you can through that lens, you know, but don't make others feel bad about themselves because they don't also, you know.
Oh, dude, even Jesus told the Jews to keep practicing their practices. He was like, look, I mean, just because like I'm presenting the new way and I'm showing that like this is the coming and the new fuck, what is the term? Anyway, he was meant to be something that was supposed to override the Torah and the Old Testament and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
And but even then, he was like, "Look, you ain't got to stop practicing your Jewish ways. Like, you can still have your rituals. You can still, talk to God and whatever, right? Like, keep all your Sabbaths and all that kind of stuff." So, I mean, maybe you could even say that that's what he was trying to do too.
Right. Well, I mean, look what happened to him.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, of course. Then Paul has to go and bastardize it, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Where were we? Okay. So they wanted to, so they claimed the Brotherhood's members lived anonymously, blending in with society while secretly guiding humanity. Completely anonymous. Right. They were just like, I'm going to join this Brotherhood. I'm going to join this religion, and maybe I'll just like leave some breadcrumbs in there and just make them think a little bit. Yeah, that's really interesting, but like, what about this part? Right. And maybe that's how you start to really mend everything together.
Right. Yep.
Not necessarily an infiltration, but maybe that's just the only way that you can do it without, kind of saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm a Rosicrucian."
Outing yourself.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
So the reaction, unfortunately, was explosive. Some believed that the Rosicrucians truly existed, others denounced them as heretics, and still others saw them as allegory. Pamphlets, defenses, attacks, and debates spread across Europe. What mattered most wasn't whether the Rosicrucians were real, it was that the idea of a hidden order of wise initiates electrified the imagination of an entire continent.
I bet, dude.
Yeah, dude. And you know what's funny is that even the Jews, so we have what Jacob always calls the resident Jew that shows up on all of the live shows for the cult.
Yeah.
So he comes on and he says, so like the Torah, which is like, basically one of their Bibles, or like the thing that they're supposed to just believe in, whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, we're not supposed to question it. Like, that's supposed to be like, that's what happened. Move on.
Right.
And yeah, of course you can't have people questioning anything.
Right.
Which I would, dude, to me, I'm like, that has to be one of the biggest red flags of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because as soon as you start to question things, it's like things like you tried to do, things start to unravel. You know what I mean? And that just causes mayhem. Especially when you're talking about the minds of so many people that they base their entire reality and moral system and everything else around this thing. And so I imagine that would be a very touchy thing.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Because people they're attached to it, like emotionally, like,
right.
Because you think about it, like it is really something that's most people that are religious, it's taught to them at a very malleable early age. And they have feelings of attachment to it, whether it's, nursery songs or prayer over dinner or, certain bedtime prayers. Now I lay me down to sleep, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually remember that. Like, that's the only thing out of religion that I remember was my dad. And he wasn't even a very religious person, but because of his upbringing and his understanding and what he was taught, he would say that bedtime prayer to me.
My mom would do that too, and we weren't religious at all. It was just
we weren't
thing
religious at all, and so it's even for families that weren't very religious, it still kind of seeped in and became just part of the reality, And so I find that very interesting.
Yeah, and you never questioned it either. You're like,
no.
I pray the Lord my soul to keep. What do you mean? What is that?
Yeah.
Where are you going with that?
Well, I mean, your dad's telling you. And think about how you looked at your dad, especially when you're that young, you're in first, second grade. It's like your dad could do no wrong.
May as well have been the creator.
He was your hero.
I mean,
it
literally.
was the thing you aspired to, you wanted to be at least as good as your dad, And so he's telling you this, it's like you just take it on. This is it. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's very strange, man.
Well, and
so take that further, not only are you getting the bedtime prayer, that's all we really got, and of course other kids talking about like or heaven or hell, like of course we understood or we've heard of these places,
God, Jesus, angels, the basics.
Right, exactly, but take it further. You're also going to church and you're also making friends at Sunday school and you're talking to these friends after school and not even just at church. And so all of a sudden now it's just everything around you is layered with a little bit of that, and so I can imagine, if because we weren't brought up that way, and so but I can imagine if that was how I was brought up, and then all of a sudden you're getting information that really kind of contradicts everything about that. It's like talk about an awakening and not even asking for it. It's like when an awakening showed up at my doorstep, it was almost like I was already going through some shit within my own mind and was really trying to just I don't know, just spiraling out of control almost. And so then the information kind of started to show up because my awareness was pointing at it. And then I'm like, oh, this makes me feel better. I understand this. And so then you start to just follow the breadcrumbs. You know what I'm
Gravitate
saying?
towards it,
But if
yeah.
somebody is vibing and just doing really good, and their Lord is their savior, so they're just at peace because they know no matter what, as long as I have the Lord as my savior, I'm really good. I'm fine. And then someone comes and tells you that their story is bullshit, and it's like, well, I can see that. I can empathize.
Yeah,
with that.
and that's where I messed up, because not only did I say that it was a mythological story, but literally within the title I said that it was fake and gay. So not a good idea, you
But
know.
to be fair, like there are people, and I believe you've said this before, there are people that really think that the story, the Zeus and all of those characters are real. Like to them, that story is their Christianity,
Yeah.
but they're totally fine with saying, oh, that's myth. When you ask them, well, have you looked into Zeus? Have you looked into Odin and all of these legends? Because that was written down somewhere, I'm sure, So did you read that book? Well, obviously that's a myth,
Right.
but okay, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, all right, then you have to just kind of leave it there.
Yeah,
Because
so what? Like, what was the story that like Odin fucked Loki and created a reindeer or something crazy like that? And it's
I
like,
mean that happened, dude. Don't make fun.
but that's how silly it is, though. You
I
know.
know, right? Exactly.
White Boy Wizard, you had your hand up there, sir. What are your thoughts?
I was just gonna see. I got fucking shiny object syndrome, and you said Zeus, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they watched the fucking uh, series that was just on Netflix with like Jeff Goldblum and fucking all those guys. Have you seen that yet?
No,
I think I
saw the preview
started to
for it.
watch it. Yeah.
You gotta watch it. It's
Okay.
fucking stellar, dude. The fucking
Definitely.
symbolism and all the fucking mythology and all this
Oh,
shit.
for
it's,
sure.
It's for sure watching it. Sorry, yeah, ADD. Goodbye.
No, that's fine, dude. Now, I just watched Clash of the Titans like fairly recently, and Wrath of the Titans, and it gives you that perspective of the gods, and these gods are kind of jealous because the people aren't really like putting their faith in them anymore. So it was almost like they had to do something to show them, who's boss and shit like that. And so, yeah, I definitely want to check that out, dude.
Oh yeah, it
And
sounds
Jonathan,
sick.
you definitely got to watch it, dude. I'm telling you. At least watch those and then get to the gods of Egypt, because that one, I know that you're gonna I know you're gonna love it.
I'll check it out for
It's
sure.
they're fun flicks.
I mean, I spent most of the day just watching this documentary with that doctor that I had mentioned earlier, and I was like, because that was like 2.5 hours long, and
Right.
I can't sit like
Yeah.
still for 2.5 hours, so I'd be like,
For
watch
sure.
15 minutes and then go make a sandwich, and then watch 15
Right.
minutes and then whatever,
Yeah.
feed the dog
No,
or whatever.
I know. Yeah. But I mean, like, they're not like super in-depth historical, like, you know what I mean? You watch that movie just to have some fun with it. They're just fun.
Right. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
So all right, let's get back to it. Alchemy and the Rosicrucian path. So to the Rosicrucians, alchemy was not just chemistry. It was the great metaphor of transmutation. Turning lead into gold was a symbol for refining the human soul. The base metal was ignorance, ego, and material attachment. The gold was enlightenment, compassion, and divine illumination. And actually, I do want to say this too, which is very interesting. Just going back to the doctor guy. Damn, I can't remember what his name was now.
I can't either.
But anyway, going back to him, dude, in that show, he goes, literally, the frequency and vibration of gold is literally supposed to be the material manifestation of the sun And the same thing for silver. It is supposed to
Oh,
be
interesting.
vibrationally the material manifestation of the moon, which, and
Oh,
people
like
have,
the slowest vibration of that,
right,
or
right.
something like that.
And and he's not the first person to say that, but he's like, no, it's not just symbolically, like literally. And I was like, oh,
Interesting.
say less. All right, let's go.
Interesting.
So all right. So the base metal was ignorance, ego, and material attachment. The gold was enlightenment, compassion, and divine illumination. So their teachings emphasized that the true philosopher's stone was not a physical object, but a spiritual state. The seeker became the alchemist, their life the laboratory, and their soul the matter under transformation. The process of alchemy, calcination, dissolution, and coagulation, which we kind of talked about earlier, mapped onto their psychological and spiritual processes. By framing alchemy in this way, the Rosicrucians were reviving ancient Hermetic wisdom while protecting themselves. To the church and state, alchemy was fringe science, not heresy. But beneath the symbols, the Rosicrucians encoded an entire spiritual path, one that encouraged seekers to purify themselves, not merely metals.
And it's funny because up until we read The Alchemist, like I had no idea what was going on with alchemy, and I've heard things or whatever, but dude, after we read that book, man, that was, for me personally, I got so much out of that. Just in every time of my life going forward, man, I feel like whenever there's a situation, even if it's not even that bad of a situation, I can still transmute it to a much better one, at least in my mind.
Oh,
Because why would you want to feel the worst case scenario when you could feel slightly better just by switching something around in your mind and looking at it in a different way and going, oh, okay, it's really not that bad. It could definitely be worse, and so in that you're transmuting a whole situation, your reality,
Shout out to the Brazilian Paulo Coelho for writing that book.
Yes, dude.
What a stud.
So good. And I use that information daily.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Daily.
I mean, it's
without
just
even
all,
thinking about it at this point.
it's just
I'm
all
sure.
transmutation,
Yeah,
and just
that's it.
knowing that you can do that,
Right.
like if you
Yeah.
think, oh, well, it's easier said than done. It is, but
Of
it is
course.
possible. You can do it. Like,
Yeah.
you can associate. And actually what that doctor was talking about, he goes, this is kind of the idea of newer kind of sciences, and I've mentioned it before about neurolinguistic programming. He goes, the idea, the reason why a meth head or a heroin addict or an alcoholic or whatever, the reason why they are addicted and they can't break that cycle is because they associate all of those things with happiness, with pleasure, with I'm relaxed now and I can do this now.
That's
And
where
like
they
once I get
find
that.
it. Right.
And so he goes, the idea is that you have to transmutate that. So you have to say, all right, well, instead of associating happiness or whatever you associate, pleasure or whatever, with said things, you have to remember all right, but how can I look at this and not think too fondly of it anymore? And that right there in and of itself is the transmutation.
Right.
If you say, well, yeah, it feels good, but look at all the lives that I destroyed. Yeah, it feels good, but man, I act like an asshole whenever I'm drunk or whatever it is. And
Exactly.
and it puts that sour taste in your mouth to where every time you think of it now you don't associate it with happiness or pleasure or anything. You associate it with man, I can't believe I caused that many people that much despair and I will never touch that shit again. And it's literally a rewiring of the brain.
Right.
So,
and now you no longer, you definitely don't want to make other people feel that way going forward. You've already established that in your mind, how you made them feel. And so, yeah, dude, I've been trying to do that lately because, I've been trying to eat better and I've been doing pretty solid, dude. I've lost 4 pounds already.
Let's go.
So, yeah. And so, that experience I was telling you about as far as having this just overwhelming sense of compassion for everybody around you, that happened today. And talk about the potential that's within you, that's always been there. That's there. You know what I mean? We all have that potential to feel that way, but eating, just eating right, just in my mind, I don't want to feel like shit anymore. I don't want to have those pains in my joints due to inflammation because of the bullshit food that I've been eating. I don't want to have brain fog, all of these things. And so just transmute it, man. And hopefully, well, I don't even want to say hopefully, because that's already putting like doubt in the situation. But yeah, dude, that's all it is, man. Just getting yourself to accept the possibility that you can do it.
Yeah. I mean,
know?
most of the roadblocks that we stumble across are ones that we build ourselves. So,
Yeah, we're always getting in our own way, dude.
yeah. So anyhow, let's get to the Hermetic and the Kabbalistic currents. So, though cloaked in Christian language, the Rosicrucian philosophy was steeped in Hermeticism and the Kabbalah. The Hermetic texts, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, spoke of a cosmos infused with divine intelligence, where as above, so below was the key to unlocking creation. The Rosicrucians echoed this, teaching that the human being is a microcosm of the divine. They also drew on Jewish mysticism, particularly the Kabbalistic tree of life, which mapped the emanations of divine light into the material world. The Rosicrucians were not, to the Rosicrucians, these were not abstract systems, but tools for awakening. Symbols like the rose and cross were multi-layered. The rose representing unfolding consciousness, the cross symbolizing matter and suffering. So not even just the human nature, but just physical nature in general.
Reality itself. Yeah.
So together they revealed the path of spirit flowering through the trials of physical existence. So by weaving Hermetic, Kabbalistic, and alchemical threads together, the Rosicrucians created a tapestry that felt both ancient and revolutionary, a hidden synthesis of wisdom traditions. Let's go, dude.
Come on now.
So I feel like there was another website that I want to get to, and there absolutely is. We're going to get over here. And I guess this is not necessarily in order, but when are we ever in order, you know?
Yeah, right. What is in order?
What is, yes. So earlier we talked about the 7 core beliefs of the mystical Rosicrucians. Now we're going to get to, and this is a big name. We would be remiss if we did not mention Rudolf Steiner whenever we talk about the Rosicrucians. He is said to be like the most well understood Rosicrucian of all time.
All right.
Like he was an actual guy. He wasn't like the other guy, right?
Oh, okay, sounds good.
Like it's not myth that he was alive. He was like, and he wrote so many books too. And a lot of the stuff that Rudolf Steiner was talking about is the same shit that Terrence Howard was bringing up.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the same stuff. Like their stuff goes hand in hand.
Really?
Talking about the flower of life and like, you know, wild
There's something
shit.
to be unlocked there, right?
Yes. So they have 6 fundamental exercises. I believe that these are called the essential 6 elements or something like that.
All right.
We should get to it. So in Higher Worlds and Its Attainment, Rudolf Steiner teaches how to develop one's spiritual organs of perception, i.e. our chakras, and the qualities required to the further development of the heart chakra. The 12-petaled lotus, situated in the region of the heart, is developed in a similar way. So half of its petals, too, were already existent and in active use in a remote stage of human evolution. Hence, these 6 petals need not now be especially developed in esoteric training. They appear of themselves and begin to revolve when the student sets to work on the other 6. So basically to say that a lotus flower has 12 petals. We already have 6. You don't even necessarily need to, you're kind of born with those, but you're meant to kind of work with the other 6. And that's what these other 6 are going to be, what we're about to talk.
When you are ready, though.
Yes. So it says, hence these 6 petals need not now be especially developed in esoteric training. They appear of themselves and begin to revolve when the student sets to work on the other 6. So here again, he learns to promote this development by consciously controlling and directing certain inner activities in a special way. So,
all right,
here we go. Number 1 is control of thought. Easier said than done.
Yeah, another one of those easier said than done, right?
Yeah, dude. So it says, to begin with, the student endeavors to regulate his sequence of thought or control of thought, just as the 16-petaled lotus is developing by cultivating thoughts that conform with truth and are significant. Oh, this is hard to read. Because it's Rudolf Steiner. He was back in the day. You know what? I'll just
back
read.
in the day talk.
Yeah, it's like, King
Yeah.
Jamesian
Well,
kind of
just read
stuff.
the description, I guess.
So, number 1 is to control of thought. Number 2 would be control of actions through will. Solid.
Okay.
Number 3 is perseverance, steadfastness, balance, and harmony.
Okay.
Number 4 is tolerance and positiveness, thinking and feeling.
That's a big one.
Number 5 is faith, trust, and unbiased receptivity. Damn, that's pretty interesting. So thinking and willing. And then finally, control of feeling, equanimity, and calmness. So basically to say that, like, your feelings and your emotions are very, I guess you can control them in a way, right? Like, and everybody kind of knows this in one form or fashion. It's like, your feeling is kind of just like a chemical explosion that is going on inside of you. And depending upon the way you look at certain things or the way you react to certain things, you can essentially guide that chemical explosion that's going on inside of you all the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, it's a slippery slope, when you start to going to the controlling the thoughts aspect of it, which was that not one of the earlier ones? Not that they're in order. I don't know if they are, but
Control of thought. Yeah.
once you start having a thought, right, and you start to notice it, and let's say it's a negative one, about yourself or about a situation or other people or whatever it is, as soon as you have it and you notice that you're putting your attention on that thing, and then you all of a sudden, if you don't stop it right there, because you already know it's kind of a negative vibe, it can spiral and become bigger, and then this bigger thought becomes, all of a sudden you feel it in your chest or your stomach, and you start to actually physicalize it. You're feeling it within your physical body. And so, yeah, dude, if you don't control the thought, then all of a sudden your whole day's fucked.
Well,
And
I
then you
think
make yourself sick.
it's so to say that you're not going to always be able to control the outcomes that exist outside of you, but you can definitely control your inner world of how not to just react animalistically, but to kind of just be aware of what's going on and don't judge a situation. Don't even feel bad for yourself. Like the idea is to put your consciousness above that feeling of sadness or I feel bad for myself or whatever. There's nothing wrong with feeling it. But whenever you allow that emotion to take hold of your life and now that's who I am, that's a bad thing. You don't want to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're deciding that this is the time that you're going to deal with the shadow, that's a whole different story, and that's a whole different technique going forward into that, But if you're just going to let it dictate your experience and dictate how the rest of the day is going to go without any kind of positive action towards it, then yeah, dude, you got to put a stop to it.
100%.
Easier said than done. Once again,
of course. This is why meditation, contemplation, a couple of the things that they mentioned earlier are very important. So, this is kind of a like an outline of the conversation that I was listening to earlier with Dr. Robert Gilbert. I thought I exited this website out, but I still had it. So he was going on. Let me see where it actually. Okay, so there was something so interesting, dude, that he said that literally. So Dr. Gilbert introduces us to the core principles of the Rosicrucian tradition. One of which is the intriguing concept, and this is one of the foremost like initiatory concepts to Rosicrucianism, is that in the beginning was the memory.
Okay.
Think about that, which is pretty crazy.
Like the memory of you before you incarnated, or
of everything.
What we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dude.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you were gonna skip ahead to. He was talking about this whole aspect of like the fractal nature of like if you're not like cleansed or complete. I forget the verbiage. I'm gonna go back and watch the whole thing all over again, but something along the lines of like if you're not ready and you're going into a particular modality or whatever it is, spiritual understanding, then it can be kind of fractaled and you wouldn't be ready for that. And that's why people have like these inflated
Egos.
ideologies of the world. You know what I'm saying? And so I thought that that was very interesting, but I'd like to understand that better before really speaking on it. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like, and the way I interpreted that was that, let's say that somebody isn't fully initiated. Maybe they just kind of dip their feet in. Maybe they don't even know what the fuck it means to be initiated. But then they have some kind of out of body experience or a mystical experience, and now that's who they are, and that's the truth of this reality. And you can't tell me any different. And to be honest, I guess, I mean, we probably kind of all go through that in one form or fashion, right? And he's saying that, like, look, especially nowadays, because it used to be, through the use of psychedelics, whether it was through, shroom tea or whatever it was, that it was more of an initiate kind of thing, that you had to be so far within your initiate teachings before you even had access to the shroom tea, or you even had access to the ayahuasca or whatever it was, right? And nowadays, if you, like, any uninitiated person can just go and have access to LSD or DMT or whatever. And he goes that sometimes people will go through that and they're like, they have this experience and it's like, oh, I know it all, but they don't know how to, like, categorize it and compartmentalize it,
Exactly. Kind of like this is a weird example, but in Jurassic Park, how he was saying, Jeff Goldblum's character was saying, you didn't have the discipline upon acquiring this technology, and then all of a sudden you're just making dinosaurs along those lines. I mean, I butchered it, but basically like that. You know what I'm saying? You have to have somewhat of a discipline before you even approach these things. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be, dude. I think we're supposed to understand that there's so much more, and just because you have a particular experience, like the experience with the cat being, you know what I mean? Obviously that's not the end all be all of this whole existence, a profound experience for sure, but there's more. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, whenever Jeff Goldblum was like, the whole time you were trying to figure out if you could, you never stopped to think if you should.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty interesting. But yeah, dude, I can't recommend this episode enough. But we'll go over a couple of the talking points. He goes, in the beginning was the memory. This refers to the cyclic nature of life and incarnation, where each life begins with the drought of forgetfulness, a metaphorical forgetting of our past lives. Overcoming this forgetfulness is possible through specific spiritual practices that structure our subtle bodies, or like your spirit body, like where your chakras and all that stuff are, allowing us to remember more about our past incarnations and understand our purpose in the current lifetime. This process of remembering is likened to the myth of Inanna, who descends into the underworld and is stripped of her possessions and identity, only to reclaim them as she returns, revitalized and empowered. So it says, then it goes on into, the history of Rosicrucianism, and he goes, Rosicrucian is not just a set of teachings, but a community of spiritual and human initiates working together across lifetimes. This invisible college of Rosicrucian masters is tasked with advancing our understanding of the Hermetic tradition. Each spiritual tradition, including Rosicrucianism, is supported by a group of non-physical spiritual beings who guide and influence the tradition's objectives. Dude. Which is pretty interesting, Yeah. It says the wisdom of Rosicrucianism is vast, encompassing the shared knowledge of humanity's spiritual evolution. This knowledge, once whole, was dispersed across various traditions around the world, each becoming guardians of specific spiritual aspects. So, in essence, Rosicrucianism offers a path to rediscover the fragmented spiritual wisdom of humanity, providing structured practices that align with the goals of spiritual enlightenment and personal transformation. As we continue to explore these ancient yet ever-evolving teachings, we unlock new ways to understand ourselves and the spiritual legacies we are part of. So, I mean, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just thought, what he was kind of alluding to in that episode. I mean, this is a guy, he dedicated his entire life to this, to understanding the all the spiritual kind of mystical kind of stuff, right? And Nick actually told me he just died last year. So that kind of sucks, yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, it's very clear that he knew his shit. Within the first few minutes of that dude is just going off, dude. effortlessly.
Yeah, and what was interesting is that he kind of comes from the idea that a lot of us have been saying since the beginning of this or the beginning of this podcast, right? Is that every single one of the religious and mystical traditions all have a bit of truth in them, and that they're just scattered everywhere, and it's up to the person to kind of try and go find each one of the shards, right? And piece it all back together. It's a coexist fucking bumper sticker is what it is.
Dude. Yep. Every belief system, and then Nick said told me something about this, and I'm probably gonna butcher that too, but he said that every faith and belief system are like stitched together with truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there might be areas of it that are kind of like inflated, or I mean, at least this is how what I got from it, but in there, the stitches are the truth. You know what I mean? So if you can go around and kind of like what we're doing, we're kind of looking at all angles and looking at all traditions and cultures and belief systems and trying to pull what's true from that and what's true from this, at least for our own reality anyway. What vibes with us.
Yeah, well, I mean, each I mean, it's all one big tapestry, and I think it's kind of the point, So there was a couple of things that I thought was really, really interesting that he was bringing up in that episode, and that was understanding the 3 centers of human existence. This is according to Rosicrucian thought.
Okay.
So Rosicrucianism delves deep into the structure of human consciousness, aligning closely with concepts found in other traditions such as Chinese Taoism. It speaks of of 3 primary centers within us. So, and these are called the Dantians. So you have the upper Dantian, the middle Dantian, and the lower Dantian. The upper Dantian would be the thinking center. Easy to remember where your head's at, right? And it's related to our consciousness and cognitive faculties. This center is about achieving clarity in spiritual science.
Right. Okay.
Which, by the way, Nick just told me earlier that Dr. Greg Braden just went on the Joe Rogan show.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting one because he's all over Gaia,
Right.
Anybody that's interested that watches Gaia, dude, that guy is an encyclopedia of knowledge. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, wait till he gets Dr. Joe Dispenza on there. Like, I pray that comes one day.
That's gonna be. Oh, dude, I can only imagine how many minds are gonna open up.
Just
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because Nick actually sent me a message and he was talking about how Greg Braden went on there, and he goes. Let me try and find it because it was pretty damn funny.
All right.
He goes, he goes, I was literally like, oh shit, Greg Braden, Joe Rogan, consciousness is getting ready for some major fucking upgrades.
It's evolving once again.
Yes, it is.
Great.
So yeah, you have the upper Dantian, which, is related to your consciousness and cognitive faculties. You have the middle Dantian, which is the feeling center. So this center encompasses the heart and lungs relating to our emotions and the ethical dimensions of our existence. It ties into traditions like the Holy Grail lore, focusing on becoming receptacles for divine energies. So that is where if you were trying to call on, angels or gods or whatever, you would almost like it has to come through the center. And that's kind of one of the main traditions of Rosicrucianism. It's not that, you're having things come down to the head and then goes throughout the rest of your body. It's that it starts in the center of your chest and it emanates outward. And which is, I think is beautiful. That's the lotus that's unfolding.
Right.
Which is the idea of why it's the idea of why you would have the rose on the cross.
Right. That's the thing that's blooming, right? Opening up.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. So, and then finally you have the lower Dantian, which is called the will center. So associated with life energy and physical actions, this center emphasizes transforming the physical world through practices like biodynamic agriculture. Then he mentions Rudolf Steiner, who we kind of talked a little bit about earlier, a luminary in the Rosicrucian tradition, exemplifies the thinking center, having disseminated vast amounts of spiritual knowledge. His works continue to inspire those seeking a deeper understanding of esoteric teachings. So,
yeah.
I mean,
and something interesting that I heard on that, as far as the upper Dantian, he was saying that it used to be like expanded outwardly much farther, and over time it kind of narrowed in more towards your brain. And so that gave us the faculties to think more logically and have that thinking brain rather than the experiencing and kind of that more spiritual understanding and abilities when it comes to like seeing, entities or what have you.
Right. Yeah, dude. There's one more thing that I want to mention from that episode that he mentioned in there. He goes, today's society often prioritizes rational, linear thought at the expense of intuitive, holistic understanding. Albert Einstein famously remarked that while the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, the rational mind is a faithful servant. Modern society, however, tends to honor the servant, neglecting the gift. Oh, if that is not absolute truth, I don't know what is, dude.
Yeah, that's the part of you that seems to question or doubt, when you do have somewhat of a spiritual experience. And then it's like, but I mean, okay, it could be explained by this, and you start to try to break it apart, that's what's happening. That's what's responsible for that.
Yeah, just always trying to think too logical about everything. And it's like, hold on, dude, that is your servant trying to become the master, and you should not let that happen.
Yeah, don't deny the fruits,
Yes. So it says this disconnection from the intuitive and the subtle realms has profound implications. Historically, humans possessed innate clairvoyance, enabling direct perception of non-physical beings and a deep engagement with natural forces. This capacity has diminished as we have developed the logical faculties associated with the brain, leading to a disconnection from these subtle energies and realms. Basically, to say that, like, back in the day, before we started, letting a regular crewmate take the wheel as captain, it was common that you would be able to converse with angels and the Holy Ghost or whatever, right? Like
realm,
the spiritual realm, whatever you communicate with on that side, it was like common,
Right.
And they actually, dude, they actually bring up a lot of Atlantis stuff too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
They say that's like kind of the marker of maybe what we once were, and
Really?
we've fallen from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know quite what I feel about the whole Atlantis thing. You know what I mean?
I think
To
it's a
me,
spiritual thing
I
more than
go-
a physical reality,
Yeah,
personally.
it's to me, I feel like it's more mythology, but still, there's something I'm sure there that's symbolic that we can get out of it. I mean, it makes sense why
100%.
we can't find where that was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if this was such a renowned place and civilization and all of this, when we haven't found it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think it was probably just another plane of existence, not necessarily existing on
The
the physical
ethereal.
plane. Right. It's
Right.
like, the same people that are going into the astral realm and seeing the Akashic records. It's like, is that fake or is it
Yeah.
real?
Right.
Like, what do you title that as?
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool. It's just another place, like it's not where they come from, but it's when they come from, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I had an experience just recently. I don't have to get into it right now, but it was definitely, dude, I'm telling you, it felt like remote viewing. I'm just gonna put it out there, man. Like, I saw something from like an aerial view, and it was like I can't quite describe what the landscape was like, but it was like I was looking down at a dome. So
You probably were.
whatever that was, whether it was like a base or I don't know. But and it's weird because the way that I was positioned, like the blanket was, I don't know, dude. I get weird with it when I sleep. Is whatever's comfortable, but the blanket was kind of in my face, and so it was only covering the one eye, and I was like on my side, and I opened my eyes, but I could still see what I was seeing in the eye that was still in darkness. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there was no visual stimulus coming into that eyeball. And so that allowed for whatever it was that I was seeing to persist.
I mean, hey, dude, they say that we have other faculties that you don't necessarily need your eyes to see. That's one of our favorite little short films.
Yeah, dude, no shit. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not saying that I'm remote viewing, but I definitely experienced something of the like.
Yeah, possibly.
But I got no information out of it. I got nothing to bring back, but it was something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is just, maybe it's just, that's all it requires is just that, your awareness.
And the open
that it
openness.
happened, and that it's
Yeah.
kind of like maybe it wasn't the whole thing, but it was just like a little creak in the door, you know?
Yeah, yeah, just a little something, just to let you know that it's possible. You know what I mean? You want to find more. You know, there's more. You know,
There's always more. Yeah.
yeah, man.
So we only have a little bit more here. So the influence on science and secret orders, as far as the Rosicrucians, the Rosicrucian vision wasn't limited to mysticism. It shaped science and society. Figures like Francis Bacon and Robert, I don't know if it's Flood or Flood, were accused of being Rosicrucians, and their writings carried Rosicrucian undertones. The idea of an invisible college, a fraternity of wise men guiding humanity, was a precursor to the Royal Society, the very institution that birthed modern science. Whoa.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Later, Rosicrucianism symbolism bled into Freemasonry, Theosophy, and the Hermetic orders. The rose and cross appears in countless Masonic rites, and Rosicrucianism ideas of secrecy, initiation, and inner transformation became staples of Western occultism through Theosophy and, damn, I can't remember what her name is, Helena Blavatsky. And others, but she was one of the main ones. So even today, modern Rosicrucian organizations like AMORC, which we kind of read from, continue these teachings, blending meditation, sacred geometry, alchemy, and philosophy. The irony is that the Rosicrucians promised to remain invisible, and yet their influence became unavoidable. Their hidden hand shaped both mysticism and modern rationalism.
Interesting.
Pretty
You know,
badass.
it's funny, you know, a lot of this stuff, you know, people would consider the woo-woo or the new age has all come from something way longer ago. It just wasn't known to the Western world. You know?
100%. Yeah. And it's like, you know, people will say that it is new age and it's just, you know, newer people that are putting things together. Dude, most of what is talked about within the woo arena is just a repurposing of older stories and mending and melding. It's a melting pot of older traditions.
Right.
You know,
and even more, dude, like if new ideas come out due to a lot of the older information and then you come to new understandings and then is that not just consciousness fucking figuring shit out? Like, why is it that when something is new, it's so less regarded? You know, it's only the books and scriptures and things that were written a long time ago that are more revered. It's like if we come up with something that works and all of a sudden humanity can, I don't know, not be at war for once, like what's wrong with that?
well, because
You know?
people are attached, they attach a lot of their beliefs into, well, the people for the last 2,000 or 3,000 years have been practicing it. You're not going to tell me that they're wrong, are you? And it's kind of like, you know, coming from that kind of mentality. And I understand it, you know, but at the same time, it just because something has been practiced for 2,000 or 3,000 years doesn't mean that it's absolutely the most right
Perfected.
thing. Right.
Right. Exactly.
So let's see. All right. Nextly, we have the ethic of silence. So the Rosicrucians live by a principle that echoes what we said in part 1, whenever we were talking about, you know, not going out and proselytizing about this kind of stuff. That the mystic does not proselytize. Their secrecy was not arrogance, but humility. Their motto could be distilled, if they were to come up with a motto, could be distilled into 4 words: to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. They believed wisdom should never be forced upon the unwilling. The mysteries belonged only to those who sought them. This is why their brotherhood was said to be invisible, not because it didn't exist, but because only sincere seekers could perceive it. To the rest of the world, the Rosicrucians were simply ordinary people, and in many ways, their ethic mirrors today's esoteric path. Mysticism is not about shouting from the rooftops, but about walking silently, offering bread to those who hunger for it, and meat only when they are ready to digest it.
Dude, that's solid. That's great information, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's great.
I agree. Then it says the Rosicrucian teachings for today. So what can the modern seeker learn from the Rosicrucians? Their wisdom still applies. Number 1, and there's many of them. These are just a few of them. Seek knowledge across traditions. Hermetical, alchemical, mystical, all of them. Seek knowledge across all of them.
Yep.
Which, what a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for some reason there people are afraid to kind of mix everything together. I feel like if you're just too far philosophical, then I don't know how far you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sure, you might understand some things better than some other people in that area, but let's get scientific with it. Let's understand the spiritual realm. Let's understand the psychology, the shadow self. The Let's get into all of the things and be a more all-encompassing being. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, science doesn't have to equal Satan. We
Right.
could look
Yeah.
at it as like, all right, well, maybe this is going to be a tool that we can use that could possibly back up some claims,
Right.
and stuff
Exactly.
like that,
Or
which
at the
is,
very least, just implement along with what you already know and believe. You know?
oh, dude, quantum
It doesn't have
physics,
to be the
like,
devil.
we love the quantum physics and the double slit and all the different, kind of,
As much as I can understand. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, it's pretty thick, it's pretty deep,
It
but,
is. It is.
so yeah, seek knowledge across all traditions. The second one is to transform the self before trying to transform the world.
Mm, yep.
It's a biggie.
Yep.
Nextly, this is another big one. Respect timing and silence. Not all truths are for all ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow
Yeah.
for some people.
Yeah.
And the next one, see science and spirituality as allies, not enemies.
There you go. Boom.
Perfect. So the Rosicrucians remind us that true initiation is inward. The real invisible college is the one inside your own heart where wisdom waits to be discovered when you are ready. So in the end, the Rosicrucians may or may not have existed as a literal order, but their legend itself has power. They remind us that wisdom always survives, even if it's hidden. They teach that the occult is not darkness, but light hidden from unready eyes. And they prove that silence can echo across centuries. So perhaps the Rosicrucians never vanished. Perhaps they're still here, scattered across the world, living as ordinary people who carry extraordinary wisdom, waiting for seekers to knock on the invisible door.
Well, I love that, dude. That's great.
Got some chills from that
dude.
one. I like it. Man,
Yeah, that's awesome.
What an interesting way of. I love it.
Yeah,
Like-
no, that makes sense, dude. And I've spoken of the guy the guy that I work with, and he's a Pentecostal Christian. You know what I'm saying? And so everything I say is pretty much like little clues to him that I'm like of the dark side. And I think I'm starting to learn like. Now it's a little more playful. I understand where he's coming from, and so we don't like clash or nothing like that. But just the other day, I was like, I was talking to somebody else, and he was kind of, in proximity, and I was like, man, October's almost here. It's like my favorite time of year. It's gonna start to cool down, and like October's really where it's like, okay, the extreme heat is kind of going away, and so that's like, I just love this time of year, the way it smells, everything. And he like looked at me, and because we had already had a conversation like a day before about like Halloween and he because of course you understand what he believes when it comes to Halloween, like it's like, oh, sacrifice and the devil and this and that. And so but yeah, I was talking to somebody else, and I was like, yeah, October's here. I'm excited. It's my favorite time of year. And then he like looked over at me like this. He's like, okay. He's like, now I know. He's like, you just told me. You know what I mean? Like pretty much just saying like I'm of the dark or whatever. Like I worship the devil, and I'm like, dude, come on. And like I said, it's more playful now. I think we kind of come to understand each other a little more over just time being spent together. But I was like, dude, come on. I said it's just candy. You know what I mean? It's a fun tradition. I'm not saying nobody. I'm sure there's some people out there. And going off of that, as far as people that are Satan worshipers, they're just subscribing to the Christian narrative. If you really think about it, it's the other side of the pole. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Almost on purpose, just to kind of
Ruffle feathers.
rebel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they're playing within that same board game with you.
You can't acknowledge one without acknowledging the other.
Right. And so, yeah. So now we just kind of have fun. I think that hopefully we're both learning from each other. He's always trying to spit some knowledge on me about, how to live a better way and this and that. And so whatever he says that I feel like is good information, I'll take that for myself. But when he tells me that I'm probably, 100% wrong, then I'm like, dude, come on. I'm not saying nobody. I'm sure there's some people out there. And when he tells me that I'm probably it's not looking good, dude. You're probably gonna go to hell. Then that I reject.
Yeah, of
It's like I
course.
don't subscribe to that. But
But it is interesting, like, and this is, I think, what I'm gonna try and start doing is that anytime I'm talking to somebody who has religious beliefs, instead of saying no, that's wrong, or no, this is how it's supposed to be interpreted, just like be the sponge of information, learn the stories, learn the traditions, learn like what was the moral of said story, and just inwardly think about like what was the deeper meaning behind that, and how could I look at that through an alchemical frame? How could I look at that through a mystical frame? And just kind of inviting that old invisible college inward.
Yeah, exactly. And if they ask you a question about your beliefs, then you can kind of elaborate and, explain how you see their faith, or how you see, the symbolic nature of these certain instances or what have you. You know what I'm saying? But
Only if
I mean, that
asked.
makes it kind of, only if they ask. But see, that's kind of, I don't know. That's kind of, I feel like you should be able to just say what's on your mind.
You should be able to, but that's not the game we're playing.
Right.
You know, it's an unfair game, which I get it. We all want to be able to express our beliefs, and we want them to count just as much as everybody else's beliefs.
Right.
But there's always going to be, what the reaction is going to be. Like, you're not going to convince anybody out of what they believe. Right. I mean, and maybe if they're open-minded, they'll at least be like, you know what? I understand. I mean, I don't believe that, but I understand, how you could look at it that way. That's best case scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that's kind of where I'm going to be coming from. I kind of jokingly said that on the cult that I'm just going to say that I'm a Satan worshiper just to like squash it. But obviously I'm not, but like, I don't know, just, you kind of got to meet people where they're at. And
that's right.
That's kind of
live
the
and you
point.
learn. You live and you learn, man.
Right. And hopefully whenever somebody does say, you know what, I do want to learn a little bit more about what you believe or what you've learned or something like that, we've been able to sharpen the tool enough to where we can speak kind of cleanly and open about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe that's what we should be really preparing for,
Exactly, man.
White Boy Wizard, what are your thoughts, sir?
Remember a couple weeks ago we were talking about snakes, and I had a ball python named Lucifer. That was half the reason I fucking named him that shit, because I'd be like, I worship Lucifer. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, yeah, he's right here in my cave.
I have the snake that was in the Garden of Eden, actually.
Right.
He talks and everything. It's pretty wild. Told me to eat this apple. I don't know what the fuck.
I mean, but
he was
don't question
it.
Yeah, dude. Sean, you got a tarot card picked out, sir?
Oh, I actually have two.
All right.
These things happen sometimes. It's fine. You know. I know we like to stick to one, but you know what? We're going to. I don't even know which order to put them in, but I think I'll go the Six of Pentacles first.
No way, dude. Literally, that's the fucking page that I had already opened up.
Dude, and it's so fascinating
crazy.
because the whole idea of, the Rosicrucians and all of this and the invisible college is like, if somebody's ready, right? And so then you would just kind of drop a couple breadcrumbs and let that stew a little bit. And literally the image of this guy is dropping breadcrumbs.
Yeah, and he has the Libra scale in the other hand.
Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible. That's literally the whole moral of this episode.
Right.
So the Six of Pentacles. Giving and receiving opens the flow of prosperity in your life. Always give what you would like to receive. You are met with generosity and even exchange when you draw the Six of Pentacles. In this card, a wealthy... Excuse the crickets that are chirping outside of my window. I thought it was the fan, so I turned it down. I was like, oh, that's right. There's a window right here. It's nighttime
nature.
Over here.
It's nature, dude.
Yeah, dude. If anything, it's kind of soothing and meditative.
Yeah, dude.
So, in this card, a wealthy man offers coins to people who are kneeling before him. His position is above theirs, yet he holds a scale in his hand as a reminder that equality is important, as is sharing what you have with those who have less. This card is as much about giving generously as it is about receiving graciously. Altruistic and genuine acts of support are the hallmarks of this card. So it's about generosity and sharing resources. The numerology is number 6, which is associated with harmony and generosity. The personal or the spiritual meaning behind it, it says, an inheritance or unexpected gift is coming to you, or you are considering donating to a charity or someone in need. Consider passing along items from your closet or home to those in need, since doing so will create space to receive from other sources.
Perfect.
Wow,
Perfect.
such a great card.
Mm.
6 of Pentacles. Yeah, that's
The other
some
one,
solid symbolism.
I feel like, I don't know, I could be wrong. I feel like we just got this one recently, but it's the Queen of Swords. I don't know I don't know. Maybe we just got it. I don't know.
Queen
Not
of
gonna question it.
Swords. All right. Yeah, let's get over to it. See what the Queen has to say. Feminine energy of protection, fairness, and balance. Man, it's all about balance. When making decisions and speaking the truth is held within the Queen of Swords.
Oh.
Queens in tarot represent feminine energy that includes receptivity, honesty, compassion, and love. The Queen of Swords represents the elements of water and air, yet there is very little water in the card itself, just a faraway stream. This indicates that clear communication, intellect, and logic are favored over emotional outpouring. This queen is seated on a sturdy throne, welcoming anyone who seeks her counsel. Yet she holds her sword of truth in front of her, making it clear that she will not hide her thoughts and opinions. This queen is wise and just. Her thoughtfully drawn conclusions are trusted by all those by all who surround her. To remain in balance, she is open to hearing the opinions and ideas of others.
Come on, dude. That gave me chills.
Yeah, the spiritual message says, "Oh wow, this is
that's pretty spot on, right?
Oh my God, stand up for your beliefs and don't shy away from sharing your wisdom with others." What?
How did we get here, dude?
Oh my God. Focus on using logic and reason rather than relying on emotional expressions, but beware of coming off as harsh in your delivery.
Oh my God.
Dude.
I don't think we've had,
back-to-back cards like that?
Most of the time, dude, they resonate, but that was
special.
The spiritual realm was talking to you, dude.
Wow.
Talking to all of us.
Yeah.
My God.
Holy shit.
That was great, man.
Can just never cease to be amazed by the messages that come through.
Yeah, man. And see what I'm saying? Like, if we would have got this card a week ago, I'm sure there would have been something relatable that we can think on and go, okay, yeah, that's a great message. I understand that. But this was just right on the nose, dude.
Dude.
In your face.
That is like borderline spooky, actually. So yeah, you want to give and receive, always give what you would like to receive. And then also it was the Queen of Swords who was, come on, there we go. Who is standing up for your beliefs and don't shying away from your wisdom with others. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up right there. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you learned a little something from it. I thought it was pretty interesting, and just going to show that like maybe we'll start looking a little bit deeper into all of these secret societies, and trying to like shed a little bit of light on them, because it is very easy to call a secret society evil whenever you know nothing about them. And you know what? We might have to even get into the Illuminati too, because now that I know about,
it's October, dude. I say we just go for it. Make these secret societies a little less spooky.
As a matter
it's the
of fact,
unknown.
We're going to be getting on somebody who is a Freemason here soon. He was supposed to come on he was supposed to come on last week, and he couldn't because he had a medical issue. Dude, he had a seizure. I was like, my God, dude, take care of yourself a little bit. So yeah, he's going to be coming on once he like fully recovers and everything, which I was like, dude, no rush on that. I promise. We're going to be around for a while. So
till the end of time,
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to learn, because it's so easy to say the Freemasons did it, the Illuminati did it, the Rosicrucians did it, the Kabbalistic people did it. It's like
the devil did it.
You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, man.
Right. Let's shed some light on the situation.
Let's just try it. Yeah.
Right. Let's just try it.
Crazy go trying things,
Yeah, dude.
So, all right, the one out there, we're going to get over to the meditation. And I do want to say, if you really enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes that we have done in the past, we'd really appreciate it if you went and left a review, leave us 5 stars, whether you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else you're listening to this at. It really helps the algorithm put it out there to those who also want to become initiated. There's a lot of people out there that are interested in this kind of information, and everybody, I feel like a lot more people are really starting to get interested in this kind of stuff. Obviously, we're not the first ones. We're not going to be the last ones either. No. It's kind of, we just hope to be at least a brick in the bridge that is being built. That's all.
That's it, dude. That's it. This was a fun episode, man.
So it was a fun one.
And it's funny because I was really questioning that logical part of my brain was like, let's just do the single card. But I am so glad that I was like, you know what? Let's do both cards, because that was just ridiculous.
Listen to the intuition, dude.
That's it, man.
Yeah,
this was a fun one.
Hell yeah, dude, it was. So yeah, we appreciate all the one who have come to hang out with us tonight. And like we said earlier, if you want to be able to join the next Wonder Wiz Day live show, then just go over to patreon.com/metamystics and sign up for the Wonder Wiz Day tier. But yeah, with that being said, we're going to get over to the meditation. Sean, any parting words for you, sir, before we head over there?
Oh, just thank you guys for joining us. This was a very fun live, and I love you guys. This was great.
Yes, lots of love everywhere, baby. So if Rosicrucianism and the occult came here and they taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird.
Stay weird.
God, that was needed.
Yeah, I don't know why we've been sleeping on the 432 for a minute. You know?
Yeah, dude, that was the longest we meditated in a while. It was 16 minutes.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was at home
just getting nestled in, dude.
I actually had an experience that I don't usually have. I actually kind of got a little emotional in there. Like,
I mean, 432's to the heart chakra, I think.
Dude, and no bullshit, man. I felt, because I was reflecting on what that tarot card was saying, as far as like, I don't know the exact wording, but as far as treating others, or giving what you would want others to give you, or what you would want to receive, right?
Mhm.
Something along those lines. And man, I feel like we focus so much on what we disagree on. And I say we as in just all people. You know what I mean? Everybody's got some sense of, tribalism in them, whether it's red, blue, or Christian, or spiritual, or atheist, or whatever it is, man. There's so much of that going on, man. And not that, we're going to be able to do anything to save the world or anything like that, but I just feel like, man, if only we can all just get our heads out of our ass, and just see it for what it is. It's like, look, if you think we're really separate, if you think that we're really that different just because of some ideology or I don't know, political stronghold, that the government's got on your mind, that makes you think that you have to be a certain way towards someone else, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is, but I just felt like this very strong, like, want or urge for just everybody just kind of coming together, dude. As woo woo and as cringe as that sounds, man. And when I had that feeling, man, all of a sudden, along with my eyes kind of watering up, and just like, I know that that's possible. It has to be, you know what I mean? But I got chills through my whole body, dude, like more so than I ever have at all, ever, not even just in meditation. And, I just, yeah, I don't know. I guess just kind of trying to approach people with more empathy, and instead of like, well, this is what I disagree with, and vice versa, So I don't know. It was a strong one, man. If only, we can just do the impossible and get people to I don't know, just be nice. You know?
Yeah, just meet them where they're at, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was
They wanna make a